Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your natal Chiron in the 11th house of friendships and groups, hopes and wishes, or if you have your natal Chiron in Aquarius, which rules this house. Some people might even have both, and then that will be very emphasized in this way. Chiron in a particular house and in a particular sign can indicate how we have been wounded. Everyone has been wounded in some way. And sometimes there is this idea floating around out there that some people have these charmed lives and they don't experience any pain. And I think it's tempting to believe that about some people based on what you think is this perfect existence on the outside, but that doesn't mean that they haven't had any painful experiences in their life, or what we would call wounding with Chiron. So we're going to look at both the house that Chiron is in as well as the sign to get the best idea of how this is all manifesting. And so that's why I'm including both here, because chances are if you have Chiron in the 11th house, it's not going to be in Aquarius. It's going to be in another sign. So you would listen. I have, been doing this series, and I've been going in a row here. So I've already done most of the signs, and you can listen for that as well. So the 11th house is the house of Aquarius, and this is the house of the collective. It's the house of the humanitarian endeavors in life. So thinking of somebody other than yourself is what we would say is, like if you're volunteering or, trying to help others. So one of the big things that can happen, right now I'm going to be talking specifically about Chiron here, but having Chiron in Aquarius will show up pretty much the same way. A lot of, I've been really getting a lot of information from a website, jessicadavidson.co.uk. For this particular one, I wasn't like 100% on board with some of the things that she said, so I did consult a couple of other sites, and one of them was called astrologyk.com, and I can't remember the other one, astrologyowl.com, and I was just, writing some of the things, but most of these are from her. And so what she did was she split up Chiron in the 11th and Chiron in Aquarius, and so I will specify when it goes into specifically what she said about Chiron in Aquarius. But just remember that it could pretty much apply for Chiron in the 11th as well. And I have Chiron in the 11th as well as Saturn in the 11th. So that's one of the reasons why some of the things I was just kind of like, I don't know if I agree with that. But the other thing too is I did kind of put it in my own words, as well as kind of change a thing or two, because I didn't quite agree with her wording. So just realize that as well. It may not be exactly what she intended. So I'm kind of putting it in her name when it might not be the right thing to do. But I did want to give her credit for that. So one of the big things here is the feeling of being rejected by the collective. So not feeling like you fit into groups. And if your sun sign, and this is when I talk about specific signs, that's just me. I find that these sites never talk about the signs themselves. And I think that's really important, because if your sun sign is in Aquarius, you might be like looking at this as kind of a game even sometimes, because this is the house of Aquarius, And Aquarians are such contrarians that they rule the house of groups, and yet they don't want to belong to a group. So what's up with that? So if you're an Aquarian, if you're a Sag, I'm a Sun in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, I think. I don't know if I said that correctly. There are certain signs, I would say specifically fire, like Aries, Sun in Aries, that are very, fire energy is very individualistic. And I would say specifically fire and air signs, with the exception of Libra, because Libra does really want to be accepted by others. But other than that, I think that because this is masculine energy, there is this kind of natural rebellion, natural defiance. Masculine is more what I would say, especially fire is very individualistic, and the feminine is passive and more concerned, I think, with others. And when we get simplistic, we say, well, some people care more about themselves and some people care about others. But it's really not that. You can't really boil it down to that. Some people might have cowardice. They might be afraid of being themselves. And they go along to get along. So how can you just say that one thing is superior to the other? And I really believe that conformity, creates a lot of problems in society. So we're looking at this from the pain that it can bring up, but it doesn't mean that it has to be that way 100%. So feeling rejected by others may result in loneliness. Now, it's important to say may, because again, some people like to be alone. And you might have your sun in the 12th house or other personal planets there, and you just really enjoy solitude, or you need it. You actually need it to just feel balanced. You may have difficulty fitting in, but you have an ability to accept others. Now, sometimes you may gravitate towards people who are like-minded almost in an excessive way, because it's almost like a what's that term that's like kind of a defense mechanism. Because of that being rejected, you may fear it like happening, so you want to ensure that you're going to be accepted by the group. And sometimes that can lead to groupthink too much if you're not careful. If you have been rejected by people continuously because you just are kind of different, an oddball to others, when you finally get a group that accepts you, then you may, go too far in that direction. And although they didn't say anything about this, I think that one of the dangers in that can be falling prey to like a cult. And I think cults, this is not something that we hear about too much nowadays. They were really emphasized in the 70s because the 70s were a time when a lot of people were, quote unquote, finding themselves. And these organizations sprouted up that wanted to help people to feel like they had some kind of support system, and that's really what I didn't see that mentioned, but I would look at the 11th house as one's support system as well, because your friendships, your social circle is what a support system really is. So with Chiron here, you may feel like you don't have a support system, like it's just you against the world. And if you find these people that give you this unconditional acceptance, it can be very tempting to just kind of fall into it, completely. And then if they are of a controlling nature, then it can be very dangerous. So the ability to accept that you don't really fit in, but yet not need it to that extent that you'll do anything to get acceptance is obviously the key. One of the things that I paraphrased was using the internet to find your tribe. And that was really key for me, was when I started to really go online and exchange ideas with people, I began to see that there were a lot of people who were in the same boat, who really didn't feel like they fit in. And it's very hard when you're in so-called real life to observe this, because there is that facade that a lot of people walk around with, and they're not going to be vulnerable. They're not going to say, yeah, I'm feeling like I don't fit in. And yet online, especially if there's anonymity, people feel like they can just bare their soul. And so that helps to connect people a lot better. And another thing that they mentioned was ability to assist in the healing of misfits. And part of that is that you may accept people who are very out there, and you may actually like people who are different. And that might be the kind of person that really is appealing to you. And because you like them, they feel accepted. So that is a gift that this placement has to offer others, and that is what Chiron is all about. The healer is coming from that place of wounding, but they're able to help others because they've been there and done that. Specifically for Chiron in Aquarius, they mentioned being on the outside looking in. Of course, you could say that about Chiron in the 11th house. And, just speaking personally, I get amused at my experiences in a group. I find that I'm always kind of like keeping myself apart. I notice how other people are interacting and how I kind of keep aloof when I'm in a group situation. And I remember going to this, it was like a spiritual type of a energetic, it was like a training that I attended, and it was like a spiritual kind of an energetic upgrade, download, I don't know what you'd call it, healing modality. And I like those kinds of things because it made me feel very able to like participate in a group, but it was structured. Like I didn't have to feel that sense of awkwardness of having to just interact with people in a very loose way. It was like we had this goal, and we're doing this thing. But yet there's always like this time when it's open-ended, whether it's before it begins or during breaks or what have you. And I remember like at lunchtime, and I was like, they were going to go all out, go to one place, and I was like getting up to go by myself. And they said, don't you want to come with us? And I'm like, no, I'm going to go, and I was being very aloof. And I think that, the person who was facilitating it thought I was very strange for doing that, because it's like, don't you want to be part of this group? And I find that I'm always keeping myself away from it. So you may find that you're doing this to yourself in a lot of ways. And it is probably a defense mechanism of feeling like you don't belong. So you just want to avoid even being rejected ahead of time. But like one of the things that Jessica Davidson, if that's, a real person, said was, you know, excessive detachment, or, I paraphrased it. So that can, have its own consequences, because it's kind of like a chicken and egg syndrome. Because if you're excessively detached, then other people are going to find you unapproachable, right? And they're good, everybody is, they have a certain level of sensitivity themselves. They don't want to be rejected. So it's really interesting how we do this to ourselves, but we also perpetuate it. Yeah, I mean, we perpetuate it by doing it ourselves. And, even if somebody isn't rejecting us, it's like we reject the group in a sense. So, excessive detachment, being a contrarian to express individuality, and that's what I was touching upon with the sign of Aquarius itself, is this tendency to like being a conformist is like the most horrific thing for an Aquarian. And so they'll do anything to be different, but then that tends to put people off because they're like, it's excessive. It's like, and another thing to look at is if you have like the sun forming a hard angle with Uranus, and I have a square between the sun and Uranus. And that tends to make other people not receptive to the way that you express your individuality. They might think that it's kind of like off-putting in some way, and you may exacerbate it by, I don't know, and you might not even be conscious that you're doing it, but you do these oddball things, and it just naturally leads to other people having a negative reaction to that. You might feel wrong for being different. And again, if your sun sign or even moon sign in some cases, because feelings are involved here, is in Libra or Pisces, or I don't know what signs really want to be accepted. I think maybe Cancer, things like that. You may feel like there's something wrong with that you need to be more of a get involved with groupthink, because you're kind of like standing apart from the crowd, and that can be like an erroneous viewpoint, and that can send a person down the wrong path. Feeling alone in a crowd, but peace and solitude. I don't know why she said peace. I'm, paraphrasing, but she said feeling very comfortable being alone. I don't really know where she's getting that from. Alone in a crowd can be, just the Chiron in the 11th, or Chiron in Aquarius, but I don't know where she's getting peace and solitude from. I'm just being honest. I'm just saying what she said. And you can heal from humanitarian endeavors, and also connecting with others from a larger perspective. So, really like maybe accepting people where they are, and maybe having like a cause that's greater than the petty little things that we think about, that can, make you feel like you're doing something that's making the world a better place, perhaps. So these kinds of things can heal yourself, but they're also healing others at the same time. And that's important too, because being a healer means that, it's impossible to heal others if you are completely unhealed. I, Obviously, I think you can heal others while you're still undergoing healing. You don't have to be completely perfect in every aspect of your life, but you have to be conscious of those areas that you still are healing from, because if you're not conscious of them, you will project certain things out into the world, onto others, because you have a lack of awareness that that is coming from your unhealed wounds. So that's very important. So, for instance, let's say a woman is, has been attacked by a man, or maybe was in a horrible relationship, like with physical abuse, and she goes to work at a shelter for women, for domestic violence. If she isn't aware that all men are not abusers, she may unwittingly pass on this like fear of men in general onto her clients or the people that she's helping. So you have to at least acknowledge that you might still be afraid of certain things, and yet you still can help other people through your own experiences in some way. So anyway, I hope that this resonated with you. If you are interested in a private reading, I have all kinds of astrological readings, and I also do the tarot. You can click on the link below for more information. I'm at rainamoonastrology.com. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.